Hello, this is the Goldsmith. Welcome into the day 2 of Season 2 Sparklet Warz recap in Upland. A couple things that we want to go over right up at the top. First and foremost, we can go over the scores and we can say who scored what at what time. But that's not really the whole story. The whole point of Sparklet Warz inside of Upland was this idea that it is a community action. There are teams or factions that are working together. They are working to improve their score. They're working to try to move their team forward as far as assets on the map, as far as building new structures and coordinating activities so that they can score points effectively. And out of that came a couple controversies with some realities. The realities being the game is set with some defined characteristics. There are some very specific timing and scoring that's involved, which can play to exploitable activities, aka if you know what time the snapshot is, as close as you can get to it, that's the best time to do a non-counterable activity. And then finally, it is something that people talk about what time zones define, how these games are played, and we can get into that. But that's reality is it was a defined set of scores to begin with. And then finally, there was a game characteristic that was unintended that it sounds like there was an attempt to solve that wasn't solved yet, and that's playing a potential concern as far as scoring and how the game's played. So we'll get into those three things. We'll get into scores, and I'm going to keep it that simple. And I'm going to go back and revert to what I normally do in my normal broadcast. And I'll get a disclaimer out of the way so I don't get in trouble. All views and opinions expressed by myself, they're mine and mine alone. Should not be taken as game strategy or financial advice. They don't come from the game of Upland, the team of Upland. They should not be considered to represent the game of the team of Upland. And of course, any guest contributors who I do have on at any time, they have their own opinions. They're welcome to them. Should be taken as game strategy advice, financial advice. They don't represent the game of Upland, team of Upland. Myself, the Goldsmith, the Cafe Nightly Show. I feel better about getting my disclaimer out of the way because, again, we're going to go over some things that may or may not be the best way to continue on, and rules may or may not change, but this is the way they are right now. If you look behind me, I've already kind of put this up, this idea that same property may not take the same superstructure from different factions. And the idea is we're being told this was fixed. We're being told this is something that was only seen in the playground and not in the live game of Upland, not happening currently, only in the past. Well, let's go take a look at live in Upland. That's where I am right now. This is a superstructure. Okay, it move to this property. To be replicable, I will let you know the address of this property as well. This is my property in the game of Upland. But as of right now, it is live. This is in the live game of Upland. Here's my property sliding around. This is a superstructure for the Knights. I don't want to make a superstructure for the Knights. I want to change my mind. Come back to the same property, 8585 Southeastern Ave in Las Vegas, and let's build a structure on this property, and let's make it a superstructure, but instead let's make it a cyborg superstructure. And my disclaimer as I do this is I am not a cyborg, but I do like parity. I do like when things are the same. And if it's going to be different, if we're going to have a different size or shape, then tell us it's a different size or shape. I thought it would be pretty cool if there was specialization. If one team, if one faction had different dynamics they're working with, potentially different size structures, potentially different damages on one weapon versus another. Just as long as there was some level of parity that kind of drew it all together, where one team was better at attacking and one faction was better at potentially at delaying damage and stopping damage, mitigating damage throughout. I thought it would have been fun, but everybody is supposed to be playing by the same rules. It's about how people play with those rules that's supposed to define who's the winner and who's not, or which faction comes in first. And again, this is very much something that's going on in the game of Upland right now. This superstructure does not fit the same way as a superstructure for the Knights, and we'll take a look at the Pirates as well, just so we can know that we're looking at all three. We're covering our bases here. So we looked at the Crypto Knights. Now we're going to look at the Purge Pirates. And the Purge Pirates, same thing. Doesn't quite fit the same way. If I get a quick turn on it, I'll see that it is not a square base. It's a rectangular one. And as a rectangular base, it'll fit this way, just barely. And then if I go the other way and go to the other axis, we will see that it doesn't fit. So it just happens that the knights have a smaller base in their structure. And why is that? Why is that the case? It's because they designed these as custom structures. And when they went and scaled these custom structures that they built, again, each 3 of these are built a little differently. When they scaled them, they did not make sure they were the same size base. And I think that was entirely accidental. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think that they thought that it would play a difference in the gameplay. Realistically, people are going to try to put these in the middle of large properties. That's the best strategy for these structures. There's the difference of a single UP. There's a single UP, a single measurement unit in upland, going to make the difference as far as who wins and loses based on the size of that base? More than likely not. More than likely, the location of these structures are going to be in the middle, like I said, of large properties to help protect them from the effect of cannons or the effect of or the need to use some other form of protection, to use chests to protect these structures from any attack. However, it definitely is a reality. It's a reality that there is different sized bases, and it does affect where you can build those structures at this time. And again, this is replicable. If you want to, I'm not going to tell people to go and look for these weird shaped properties and buy one and then go do it yourself. But if you own one of these weird shaped properties in Las Vegas, you can see that I get a good width here so I can play around with that, what fits, what doesn't. And they're always fun when we have these properties that have these weird angles cut into them. So definitely something that is replicable, definitely something that is live as of right now. If it changes in 2 hours, that's good, because it means that it was changed to ensure a little more parity. Again, if there was intentional deviation between the rules in one team and the other for a certain reason, because one team is handicapped in one way and has an advantage in another, and the other team has a similar advantage but a different one, and then a similar handicap but a different one, that would be great if things kind of balanced out and we can kind of see how this worked. But again, as an unintentional handicap, as an unintentional deviation in how the gameplay works for one team rather than the others, I think that's something that could be fixed, and it would be nice to see if Upland worked on that. And then the other controversy of the day, without using a graphic, the other controversy of the day was this idea of the strategy. And again, this is a game that is played by strategy. Upland intended it to be done so. This is technically in beta, so Upland is still refining the rules. Upland is still trying to decide if they should change rules in one way or the other. And actually, we will use a graphic. We'll use a graphic because we'll talk about the difference between real-time score and official score. So real-time score is the points that are live at this moment. So we can see the Crypto Knights right now, 28,496.45. They have the most points on the board at this moment. And they did yesterday as well. And they, for the most part, for day one, at the end of day one, they had the most points shortly after the snapshot. And now they have the most points hours after the snapshot and hours before the next snapshot. However, if we come back and we take a look at the official scores, we will see that the Cyborgs continue to have the highest score. They scored more points at the snapshot. And the reason that happens is because as a team, as a strategy, they were able to move a lot of their assets at the right time, so move their cannons and move their chests at the right time, so that the other teams did not respond fast enough to augment their score. The snapshot happens only once a day, so the score only really matters at that snapshot, at that one defining second. So if you are able to move your assets at the right time shortly before that snapshot and other people aren't able to respond, you are going to do better. You're going to get those points. You're going to work around other people's defenses. And ultimately, that may be a shortcoming of the way this game is designed. Because if the game is designed with a single snapshot, not 24 a day, not 10 a day, not randomized snapshot, but in a specific range of window, then all your team needs to do is focus on that small range of window, that 1 hour period or one exact second, if you know the snapshot to the second. And that is going to be something that is going to continue to be the case if that continues to be the rules of the game. Yes, strategy definitely does play in there, but it also is a matter of, is there benefits to that strategy? Is that something that, is a fun gameplay dynamic? Is there a way to work around that gameplay dynamic We've seen it in other places where Upland has gone and randomized or has set a snapshot draw within a certain window where they have said, there's a reason why we're going to do this snapshot either first. Oh boy, darn! I didn't know you were here live. I'm doing this at a weird time during the day. Good to see you. It is one of those times where it really does come down to the rules of the game. The way the game is written defines the outcomes. And again, the outcome is that the winning team is going to be the one who's able to go and leverage that snapshot window, get as close to possible to it, go and make their changes as close to as they can so nobody else can respond. And that is kind of the question. It has always been the question about how do time zones in a global game, how do time zones play in? Upland has constantly set these snapshots at a time, 9 a.m. PT, that is really helpful to people who happen to be in certain parts of the world where it's easier one way or the other. And it's not just one part of the world, because on a 12-hour cycle, sometimes it's a good time for some people halfway across the world because they're getting ready to go to bed, or it's their evening, or it's time that they have where they can dedicate 15 minutes. Other people, it's right in the middle of their workday. They can't spend time 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after. They may not have a lunchtime or a break for an hour before, an hour after. So it might not be a good thing for all those. So it's really hard to define what part of the world that benefits, but it benefits individuals who have the ability to do those things. And again, it's not just a matter of what you do, but it's also how you can do it. So again, if Upland had this set where either A, it was more sporadic throughout the day, people could not react to the timing, it was more about continuing to maintain points as opposed to play towards a single snapshot, it would be different. If it was 3 times during a day, 4 times during a day, and different people in different parts of the world had different advantages as far as having access to move these assets, that would be a different story as well. So it is most importantly defined before the game started. And most importantly, it is something that should be recognized as part of the game, and you have to play towards that part of the game until that rule changes. And if that rule changes, then we might see a more dynamic score competition. We might see that teams, come on 3 times a day, 6 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever the case is, and they're trying to work more effectively to maintain their score over time. I mean, being awake 24 hours a day is not easy. It doesn't last long, and then you pass out and hallucinate. It's not good. But if this was set with different parameters, different rules, maybe the game would be played differently. It wouldn't be played to a 1-hour period per day. And ultimately, playing towards that 1-hour period per day, kudos to the cyborgs, because that is the way the game was set. That was intentional. The team had chosen to do it. It's more to playing towards the rules of the game, and that is how you win games generally. You find the rules, not necessarily exploit them, but work towards those rules as opposed to just playing towards whatever your own aesthetic choice is. Level up tech. Random timestamps would be more in the spirit of international gameplay. Level up tech, I agree. Randomized timestamps or multiple timestamps throughout the day. If you did a snapshot 6 times a day, you didn't tell us when they were, and then you added those 6 scores together, it really would be about maintaining your score overall rather than trying to play towards that snapshot. But again, that is a choice in this gameplay. There are reasons why technologically Upland may choose to do so, but it is a element of play that could be changed at some point in the future and change things around a little bit. But I will take a look one more time. I did click out of them. Let's click back in. Official faction scores. This is where we stand right now at the end of day 2. Cyborgs at 8,093 points, 0.39. So the Crypto Knights at 7,436 points, 0.06. And the Purge Pirates 520.88. Again, Purge Pirates, we saw there's a lot less burns. So this is not a comment on the players who are playing. Those who are continuing to play on the Cyborgs, those who continue to play on the Crypto Knights, those who continue to play on the Pirates, keep playing. It is a game that is played over time. More luck to everybody who plays, or good luck to everyone who plays, and more power to them. Purge Pirates are a significant handicap, less people burnt in. And because less people burnt in, some of those people who are in that faction are less energized to participate. So, yes, you are going to be continuing to participate at a little bit of a handicap. The Crypto Knights and the Cyborgs are obviously going to be neck and neck throughout. And the strategy of what time you are moving your assets, that is going to determine who wins. It's not about the Crypto Knights. If I take a look right now, it's not about the Crypto Knights having more points overall on the board right now. If they continue to have more points overall on the board the entire time, it only matters at those snapshot periods. So we'll see how this strategy plays out. Again, Crypto Knights may be able to use the same strategy. It's just about the availability right before that snapshot to move your assets around. And just because one person's able to do it one day, maybe they can't another. We are in the weekend, so maybe there's more opportunity. We're in the weekend in many parts of the world, more opportunity for people to move things around potentially without work days. We will see how that plays out when we look at scores for day number 3. Day number 3, snapshot is going to be at 9 a.m. PT or around 9 a.m. PT, I should say. It's a little bit fluid, but very tight in that area. 9 a.m. PT on Sunday, and that is, again, going to be a number of hours away. So that is something we can go and take a look at when that happens. Otherwise, for today, I do want to take a look at the scores. Like we said, or I said yesterday, myupland.info, again, not a sponsor, but definitely it is powerful when there are data groups who are able to put things out to be better visualized. They did put a map out. We were able to go and take a look at the map, and we see who owns what properties. Here we have these Crypto Knight properties I can see here. I can see these Cyborg Knights here, and you can kind of see when you strategize where you want to build certain structures based on who owns structures in what area, what faction owns structures or structures, properties around you, and what structures they have built. So I can go and see what buildings are here. So I can go and see all of these buildings, and blue is the Cyborgs, and Cyborgs have this little enclave over here of buildings, and who knows? These are all properties that are not owned by anybody. The Cyborgs own this whole area over here, and they can almost do what they want, with the exception of, if these properties were for sale, somebody could come and buy those properties. And if they bought those properties, they could do what they wanted as far as putting defensive or offensive weapons on those areas. If people wanted to, or if the Cyborgs wanted to put map assets in this area right now, they're untouchable. They're untouchable by the Purge Pirates. They're untouchable by the Crypto Knights. And you see the same thing when you look at other factions as well. I mean, you look at large properties, small properties, large properties. Obviously, if you put a superstructure in the middle of a large property, nobody can affect the score of that superstructure. If you take a whole enclave, a whole host of properties, and you buy a bunch of them, look at this over here. And I think I have one of these bunches, and I don't know which one's mine, but I have one of these bunches where it's all of these properties like this, and you own that whole area. And if you have things that are in this area right here, then there's no way for any of the other factions to touch it, because, again, they don't own anything here. You own a far enough block. Even if these were for sale, they could not buy those properties and affect your score on those properties or on what you're doing on those structures. And again, what structures are where definitely matters. Here's another little enclave where the majority of those properties are owned by somebody on the Crypto Knights. You'll see that on all 3 factions. And again, you definitely do see one thing if you look at the board on a broad basis, and that is that there's less of these yellow than there are brown and blue. Again, there's less people who had burnt into Purge Pirates this time around. And I can go and take a look at one more thing, and that is here. Here we go, superstructures. I can see the completed superstructures. Keep in mind, these take days to complete, which means you're not going to see a bunch of them in day 1, day 2, they're not going to be there. But you will see them start popping up day 3, day 4, day 5. And that is ultimately what is going to determine who wins or who has the most points, or is going to at least contribute to it. So continue to watch out for day 2, day 3, day 4. As these superstructures get completed, we will use this feature to continue to look and see what is built when, and continue to build towards those strategies. And as Boydern says, this website is a significant help. Again, this is a significant help. This is a massive help. It gives the opportunity, if you want to visualize what's going on, you are somebody who's playing very strategically. You're working with your team. You're saying, where do we want to build our superstructure. You're saying, where do we want to move our assets? This is a huge help in the visualization of the city of Las Vegas, the ability to see what is currently being done in the game now and how to take that next step, your next strategy in the game. Boyern says, I wonder if we will be able to place assets on someone else's property instead of how that would be a change of rules. And if that happens, that would be something that would change the overall gameplay. But again, this is a beta still. This is season 2. Upland continuing to make changes, and maybe, just maybe, they will see those changes and decide to make them. I will end this because it is longer than the intended time today, but we did have those controversies that we did have up front. But ultimately, the takeaway, the end of the day, is it is day 2. We know that the points continue to accumulate. Day 1, 10% of the overall points are accumulated, added to the official score. Day 2, 10%. We're heading to day 3. Day 3, we're going to see even more points go towards. And as we continue towards the end of the 7-day period, we'll see more points each day. So with that in mind, the game is just starting. There is plenty of more points to be accumulated. Strategies are starting to take place. And as they continue to build, those strategies continue to build, we will continue to see teams work towards the finish line here. So day 2 is over. Day 3 is not yet over. More to come. We'll have more information tomorrow about what ends up happening at our official scoring for day 3. Thank you so much. And again, I'll be back here within the next 12 hours with day 3. Thank you. Again, as always, the Cafe Nightly Show, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. PT in the Upland Discord Cafe, YouTube, and Twitter. But we'll have these updates again throughout the contest for Season 2 of Sparklet Warz.